Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, and while I wait for people to come on, I'm going to do another Enchanted Unicorn Oracle, just because I feel like it. So, looks like today's going to be one of those days where I fight with the camera. So let's see what we got for today while I wait for people to come on. We're going to do the Affirmators. Wow, that was fast. We're going to do the Affirmators today, and we'll get to that, and we'll see what kind of ride we're in for today. Wow, yesterday, damn. Break your routine. Oh, 1967. 1967. I like this. I feel like my mommy is saying hello because this is the year my parents got married. It was 1967. Took them a while to have me, but my dad was in the military at the time, so back and forth, back and forth. So, you know, anyways, the connection didn't always connect. But I'd like to say I was born in perfect timing. But yeah, it took him about 6 more years for Shelly to come along. So 1967. I needed that card today because I really miss my mom. Let's see. Break your routine. I mean, I miss my mom every day, but you know what I mean. Good morning, Muddy. So, Muddy, we're doing the unicorn, and then we're going to do the Affirmators, and we're going to see how today goes. So, anyways, 1967. Oh, break your routine. I really do think this is a message from my mom, because it's also the red Gerbera. Gerbera? I always call them Gerbera, but I believe it's the daisies, right? So, anyways, the happy-go-lucky Gerbera's generous red velvety petals lift the spirits and add a pop of color to any room. On a metaphysical level, Gerberas represent happiness, celebrations, and parties. Both the red and orange Gerberas offer emotional healing in times of sadness and cynicism. Oh, thank you, Mother. I know this card is from her. This card is from Mama. And not because of me, but just the state of the world. I feel like she's saying, hang in there, guys. You know, it's the tide will turn. Hang in there. So, hi, Allie. Good morning. Or, sorry, good afternoon. So anyways, also, guys, now that I got some of you on, if you hear any background noise, I'm sorry. It's been so freaking hot the last few days. It's been in the high 80s. Yesterday I got into the car. It was like 102 degrees in the car according to the temperature thing. It's just been stupid hot here. So, you know, I'm enjoying it's cold this morning. It's like in the high 50s, which I know for some of you is probably like, ooh, that's like summer. But for those of us in Southern California, it's starting to feel like fall. So, yay. So, you know, I wanted to wear my sweatshirt because I haven't worn it all summer. But anyways, the divination. This card takes us back to the heady days of the late 1960s, kicked off by the Summer of Love in 1967 and culminating in the iconic Woodstock Music Festival of 1969. Between these 2 years, many in the Western world began to break free from convention and stuffy societal rules. It was a movement started by young adults who questioned the status quo and sought freedom of expression. They challenged their outdated ideas and attitudes by growing their hair long, wearing outrageous fashions, and experimenting with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They rebelled against authority. It was an intoxicating time that didn't last, but it did lay the groundwork for new and exciting ways of looking at life and encouraged a more open-minded, less restrictive society. Individuality and self-expression are now openly supported in most Western countries. Protest can bring about real and lasting change. So there you go. And people in the Western world are free to find their own form of spirituality without having to kowtow to old-fashioned conventions. The 1967 unicorn appears when life has been dull and routine. It encourages you to try something different and bring a blast of fresh energy into your daily life. Explore an idea that seems outrageous to you, but that you've always wanted to try. You need to pick yourself up out of the daily grind and see life from a different perspective, one that helps you break free from the herd. Break free from the herd, kittens. So, yeah, wow, see, okay. Oh, Allie says it's freezing here. Sat with a blanket on me in the oh, girl, you were so lucky. You were so lucky. I know you don't feel that way, and I have to admit that, you know, I mean, by your guys' standards, even Sammy's, by, you know, both of your standards, it doesn't get super cold here. It can. It's a rare occasion when it drops into the 30s here. It's kind of a rare occasion when it drops into the low 40s, but for the most part, we get high 40s, 50s, and then even our winters, we can get into the high 60s or the low 70s. So you guys are probably like, I hate you. There's a meme out there it makes me laugh every winter, and I probably shouldn't, knock on wood, just in case, but it's basically the entire United States. And it's just little things that say, fuck, it's cold. It's super cold. Brr, blah, blah, blah. And then they have California where it just says LOL. I know, I'm sorry. So anyway. All right, affirmators. Let's get to the affirmators. Celebration. Okay. I love that. The bottle says glug. Glug, glug. Hey! And it matches. Ta-da! I know. All right, drink responsibly, guys. But anyways, oh, she does have eyes. I was like, how does she see? But she has eyes. I love it. She's like, who does not want to dress up their champagne bottle now just to look like her? Because that would be fun. But anyways, when I come across people in happy, healthy relationships, I give jealousy the finger and celebrate their joy. When I do so, I'm rooting for the good guys, which means that I'm a good guy, and that means all of us win. Who wants to celebrate? Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Okay, I'll be honest with you. When I was going through my healing journey, I was just kind of like, you know, I would see other people that would find somebody to help them through, and I'm just like, fuck all of you. Seriously, so unfair. Why do I have to do this alone? Why do I have to do this? You know, and it's not that I didn't have the support, because I did. I had a very good support group. But you know, I have been single for a long time, but I'll tell you one of the things I miss. I miss cuddling. I miss cuddling and kissing. Those were like my two favorite things, cuddling and kissing. And I really miss that. I miss that. But there's something so, you know, just, what's the word I'm looking for? Something so, there's a word that I'm looking for, and my brain, because it's still kind of coming out of its spiral, whatever depressive episode, is just not firing on all cylinders. I want to say comforting, but it's a little more than comforting, right? Because you can get a hug from anybody and it feels comforting if it's a good hug. I like to seek out my family that are mommies because they give really good mommy hugs. And my dad's not really a hugger. So, you know, I kind of have to wait until I see my cousins to get really good squeezes. But there's something about when you're in a relationship, that hug, that just, you know, like that safe space, you know, and that you just feel kind of like everything's going to be okay, even if your head is just exploding and you think, ugh. So, you know, I know, I don't know how to explain it. But then I realized, you know, I had to come through this by myself because, you know, I don't know, maybe in all my past lives, somebody was always there to pull me through. But this time I needed to learn how to do it for myself so it sticks. And because, you know, I am fortunate enough to have such a wonderful support group, even across the pond. Across the pond. I have a great support group, and I hope you guys all know that I am here for you as well. But you know, we shouldn't be angry or jealous over other people's happiness. We should be celebrating it, because here's the thing. If you are a firm believer in what you put out there will come back to you, you're putting out the wrong stuff. All right. You're absolutely putting out the wrong stuff. You want to make sure that you put out all the good stuff so that this stuff comes back to you. You know, I've talked to some of you before about, you know, how some of you are just like, nope, I'm done. You know, I'm over it. I don't want to deal with it. You know, and for those too, where it's fear-based, because, you know, maybe the last relationship or the last few relationships weren't that great. I know for me, for a very long time, it was fear-based. I told you guys, it's like, I'm not opposed to relationships anymore, but I'm one of those weirdos that just wants it to happen organically, or, you know, I'm not going on a dating site. All right. Because as far as I'm concerned, even though they work for some people, they absolutely crushed my soul and my self-esteem when I was on them. And so I'm just kind of like, no, you know what? I'll just throw caution to the wind and see what happens. And it's probably a little bit more of a gamble when you do that. But hey, you know what? Somewhere in this big, vast world is my person. And, you know, hopefully they find them, or they find me. Get a map, dude. Get a map, okay? Somebody give this whoever my person is out there a map. Fuck's sake. But okay, I'm just adding that for humor, all right? But seriously, I will say this though. I have become content in my singlehood. I do miss the things I was talking about, and I do hope for myself that, you know, that romantic magic happens, because I am curious, to be honest with you, how I'll do in a relationship now, because I am in a different mindset. I am in a different place. But, you know, even though I say I'm in a healed place, in a different place, I want to make sure that I don't go back to old patterns, okay? Because I would lose myself in the other people. So I know we're talking about celebrations, but I wanted to relay all that because I know I'm not alone. I know there are other people out there who do the same thing. I know there are other people out there who are, you know, afraid to dip their toes back in the water. I admit there's a bit of apprehension on my part, just because, you know, rejection is a scary thing, and rejection is hard, you know, and it's not like we don't get rejected enough through life, right? That we have to, you know, deal with it in our personal lives too. So just hang in there, okay? Hang in there. Just let the world roll around you, but don't be jealous or angry at other people's happiness, because, you know, what you see on the surface may not be what is happening behind doors. There could be a lot of, okay, so just for reference, you know, as you know, it's a condo complex, so a lot of the sounds get louder because they're bouncing between the buildings, you know, good old physics and acoustics and all that stuff. So anyways, but you don't know what's happening behind the doors. There could be a struggle, you know, and I don't mean a struggle between them necessarily, but just, you know, they may be going through something that they're helping this person through, and this person may need it. You know, they may need that, you know, that boost from somebody else, because, you know, a lot of times when I've seen people healing and they have a partner to do it with, I find out that they didn't have the greatest support system growing up. And I do. I did. I still do. And so, you know, I mean, I'm down a parent, I'm down a support person, but as you could see from the 1967 card, she's got a firm grasp on watching out over me, okay? Oh, yeah, you know. I know, it's kind of weird to think, right? Ooh, hello, mother. So, oh, I can literally feel her right now. I can literally feel her right now. And it's just this warm, fuzzy feeling, and she's giggling, so she knows something. I know, sorry, I went a little metaphysical there on you for a second, but mama knows something, and I want to know what she knows, but she's not telling me, and she won't be telling me. But I know that giggle. That's the I know something about you giggle. Ooh, I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to just kind of, you know, but ever since I really kind of started stepping into my gifts, I've been feeling a lot more. So wow, that is strong. It's kind of like the only way I can explain it, it's like I have my breath, but it's almost like it takes your breath away, because there's just this feeling of joy and happiness, you know. And wow, one day I'll tell you guys the story about my mom and I when we had our last big talk before she passed. It was hilarious. But anyways, as you know, my mother was very Catholic. But anyways, we should celebrate. We should celebrate love. and I know it's, or just, because I mean, obviously it's talking about that, right? But that's very specific. Do you guys want another card? Let's pick another card. Let's go to the next one, because this is very specific. But again, if you are a person who is actively trying to seek a partner and you're jealous of all your friends, stop. All right? Just stop. Because here's the funny thing. I have family and friends that will sit there and go, you're so lucky. You're so lucky you're single, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, all the grass is always greener on either side. It's compromise. All right. My parents did things with each other. My parents did things without each other. All right. So, they just did their things. And I think that's what kept their marriage healthy. I think that's what kept them together. When my mom retired, again, they did things together and they did things separately. She had what they called the Golden Girls group, and sadly, there's only like one person left in that group. But that being said, I always celebrated my parents' love. And, maybe that's why it was hard for me to find a relationship, because I was trying to find what they have. And we can't find what other people have. We can only look for, or, we can only wait for what is meant for us. All right. So celebrate your people. And you know what? Celebrate your life. You're alive. Okay. Even if you're single and you're ready to mingle and the mingling's not happening, just celebrate your life, because you know what? It's like everybody always says to me, the minute you stop looking, that's when it will happen. So just go out there, enjoy your life, go do things, right? I went to London by myself. So, now I know why we had to pick another card. Vulnerability. Vulnerability. All right, kids, let's talk about vulnerability before we read this. In order to have, and really to put yourself out there, you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to be a little vulnerable. Is it scary? Hell yeah. Do we all want to do it? I would say the majority of us, fuck no. Because being vulnerable is hard, because that means that you are opening yourself up just enough for someone. I'm sorry, something on my eye, I think. Oh, I think it's, sorry, my hair. Anyway, I am so, what is happening? Well, maybe my mother's feather got in my eye. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. It's bothering me because it's tickling my eye and it's trying to go in my eye. And I cannot figure out what it is, and I put my mirror away. Damn. Ooh, okay. There it is. It went in my eye. Well, a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything, right? So, anyway. Vulnerability. Okay, let's just talk about vulnerability. I allow myself to talk about my feelings without fear of external judgment or internal drama. When I express my feelings, a couple of funny things happen. 1, I feel like a kindergartner. And 2, everything gets lighter, easier, and filled with the comforting glow of honesty. Hey, no wonder kindergartners seem so fun and stress-free. Yeah, so I'm glad we talked about the other vulnerability first, because this is the true, oh my God, seriously, it's like someone's trying to tell me, don't talk about it. Stop. All right, hold on. I'm so sorry, guys. What is happening? What is happening? It's almost like somebody doesn't want me to talk about oh, there it is. I don't know what that is. Lord have mercy. Anyway. So, but here's the thing. It says, I allow myself to talk about my feelings without fear of external judgment or internal drama. Sometimes when you talk about your feelings, you get external drama too, and so this can go both ways. I'm gonna switch these up, right? So you could have without fear of external judgment or internal drama, or without fear of external drama and internal judgment. So those are interchangeable right there, because we can and we do sometimes judge the shit out of ourselves. And we got to stop. We have to stop that. Because that's how we heal. That's how we move forward. I was watching Criminal Minds last night, and as we're binge watching it, and Dad and I, and I heard the most profound quote from Kierkegaard. And when I heard it was Kierkegaard, I'm like, of course it was Kierkegaard. But it was the most profound quote, and it hit me between the eyes like you wouldn't believe. Uh-oh. Sorry. There was a spider out there, and I think a bird just, circle of life is not pretty. But anyways, it was, I'm trying to remember. Hold on. I wrote it down. Because it just kind of hit me between the eyes. Life can only be understood backward, but it must be lived forward. Life can only be understood backward, but it must be lived forward. And the funny thing is I'd never heard that quote before, but when they were saying it and they said life can only be understood backwards, I was like, but you have to keep moving forward. And then they finished that last line. And I realized that's how far my healing's come, because a long time ago I would have been like, yeah, but that's just it. That quote and that comma between both words is where the vulnerability happens. It's where your healing happens. It's where you decide, do I keep living in my past or do I choose to move forward? Because we can only live going forward. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. Possibly I'll still be talking, but you know what I mean. But we also don't know, we do know what happened in the past. But what can we do about the past? Nothing. What are we always taught about the past? Learn from it. We can't change the trauma. We can't change whatever horrible things happen to us. But we can remember the good things that happen to us. We can remember the lighter moments, because, that's what keeps us going, right? The good memories and everything. I mean, if you want to think about it, my mom is something that I had to understand going backwards, but she's gone now. And excuse me. And yes, I apologize. I have the gift of being able to feel her and sort of communicate with her. But that still takes vulnerability, because I don't always trust myself. That's why I think my mom comes in really, really strong, because she knows that I still doubt my gifts. And to be honest with you, I'm getting tired of hiding my gifts to conform to society. Okay, society can just fucking deal with it, because I don't want to hide who I am anymore. If you don't like it, you know where the door is. But I don't just walk around going, hey, I'm metaphysical, I'm spiritual. No, I'm just me. I walk around, I drink Guinness, I drink the occasional glass of white wine, which, again, my cousin and I were talking about this over dinner, seriously. But anyways, that was a conversation for last week. Sorry, it's getting all... I just watched it, so I'm trying to break it back in again. But anyways, I don't think we should have to hide who we are. I don't think... There is a vulnerability in that, because not everybody is going to like what they see. Not everybody's going to like the person that you become. But I'm not, we don't want people walking up to us going, here, have a Bible, let me hit you over the head with it. No, it's just, those are conversations that you usually have amongst your people, and your like-minded people. And, but when it comes to my show and stuff, it will come out from time to time. And I think today it's just coming out very strongly because my mother is very present right now. And I think part of it too is in less than 2 weeks now, my father's going to be 80. And I realized this is the second start of a decade that he's done without my mom, because my mom passed right before he turned 69. So yeah, there might be a little bit of hang-ups there, because, my parents were married for 47 years. 47 years. So by now they would have been married for about 58. I think. No. Yes? No. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Wow. Sorry. That's like a bunch of emojis just happening there, right? But anyways, I went sidetracked. But I think I guess in a way I didn't. because being open like this does leave me vulnerable. It leaves me vulnerable to the haters out there. It leaves me vulnerable to the people who aren't open-minded, you know, or the people who are skeptics, or the people who say, no, come on, blah, blah. And there are those people out there who will say, yeah, I don't think I want to hang out with you because your belief in here about your spirituality doesn't align with mine. And yet we could have a billion things else in common. You just don't have to talk about it. You know, I mean, like I said, I don't sit down at the table and go, hey, let's talk about, you know, tarot cards. No. You know, we just have conversations. When we go out to happy hour, I don't sit there and talk about it unless they ask me about it, because it's not their jam. It's mine. And that's how we deal with it, you know, but it does take a level of vulnerability for any of us to speak our truth. You know, the 1967 card, right? Protests and everything. It takes a level of vulnerability to speak our truth. It takes a level of vulnerability to put ourselves out there to be in a relationship. It takes a level of vulnerability to go from, you know, your dating phase into the relationship phase. Because now, if you're with somebody, you're not just, you know, meeting up for dates anymore. You're starting to get serious. And this is where the communication needs to happen. And not everybody's good at communicating. And that's why you need to be vulnerable. And I'm not saying just, you know, put on, you know, just rip yourself wide open and go, okay, here I am. No, you just let your guard down a little bit. That's what vulnerability is. Vulnerability is just protecting yourself, but also saying, hey, I trust you. That's what being vulnerable is. It's putting your trust into the world, even when it scares you. It's saying, look, I have my sassy pants on today. I've got my confidence, but vulnerability still scares me a little bit, you know? Or, you know, I'm working on my self-esteem, so vulnerability still scares me a little bit. And that's okay. I know it can be scary, but remember, like I said, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a family relationship, you know, compassion and communication. And look what they make, even though one of them's a backwards C. But, you know, this way. But yeah, communication and communication and compromise. They make the heart. I heart you all. But anyways, so goofy today. Anyways, but yeah, again, I allow myself to talk about my feelings without fear of external judgment or internal drama. And we added external drama and internal judgment. Here's the thing about vulnerability that I've learned, and I'm not sure if everybody goes through the same process that I went through. The very first person I had to be vulnerable with was me. That's right. All the fingers are pointing in this direction. The very first person I had to be vulnerable with was me. Because I had to get into the place in my mind that says, look, if you want to heal, you are going to have to go deep. You're going to have to do that shadow stuff. You are going to have to, you know, go to places inside of your mind that you have not seen in a very long time. And that will make you very vulnerable. Then I went to therapy, the first time when I had really good therapy, when I went back to therapy in 2017, and you have to be more vulnerable. Because this is a person that can only help you if you let them help you. It's not their job to throw the hook at you and try to catch you and reel it out of you. They will guide you, they will prompt you, but they're not going to tell you what to say. They're not going to tell you what to think if they're a good therapist. All right, I've been very fortunate with all the therapists I've had. And sometimes when they have a rapport with you, they will tell you what you need to hear, even if it's not something you want to hear. And by that, I mean, that was my last therapist, Gwen. She was, she was rock solid. I have to share a tiny story about this. I walked in, I was a little vulnerable with her, and she was just she just came at me, not in a bad way, but, you know, I think she knew we were going to get along, and I think she knew exactly what I needed. Because I went home and older sibling said, how was it? You know, how is she? And I said, she I hated everything that came out of her mouth. And I said, she just reminded me of, I said, what did I say? I said, I like her, but I hated everything that came out of her mouth. And my siblings said, are you going back? And I'm all, absolutely. Because this is a woman who is not afraid to tell me what I need to hear. And, and she didn't prompt anything. She just says, well, she says it very gently, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but, and she's very good at her job. And she's very good at reading people. She's very intuitive that way. But she also, she also knew where I needed help because I felt very stuck. And yeah, like I said, I've been very fortunate. She graduated me from therapy because I was just like, I don't want to go. Because there is a level of vulnerability. Why do I have a hard time talking this week? There was a word I said earlier that I kind of tripped over, but vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable too when you leave therapy, or when they graduate you. Because you're taking the tools now that you've learned and you're moving out into the world and hoping for the best. You don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know how it's going to end. I mean, we all know how it's going to ultimately end in the end, right? We're not vampires, okay? We are not going to live forever. I'm not even sure that, when I was a kid, I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. Yeah, I want to be a vampire. I want to live. But now it's kind of like, no, please. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm good. But, I mean, I have a goal. My goal is to reach 2076. I told my dad, I said, well, I was 3 and barely coherent when we hit the bicentennial, and they said, so I want to be like 103 or 103 and a half when we hit the tricentennial, and then I can poof out. So, I said, hopefully I'll be more coherent and understand what's happening, but I just thought that'd be kind of cool. But I mean, we can't pick the day we die, right? So anyways, so yeah, just watch the internal drama, all right? Watch the internal judgment. But also watch out for the external judgment and the external drama. When you really stop and think about it, the external judgment and the external drama, when you find your way through healing, that's going to become less important to you, and you're just going to be like, boundaries. Boundaries will become a lot easier. People pleasing is one of the hardest things I've ever had to get rid of in my life, or one of the things I've had to tame. I mean, I don't want to offend people who are, in programs, but being a recovering people pleaser really is, to me, a thing, because we tend to fall back into bad habits. And that is an easy one to fall back into. Oh, no, sure. Even if it, costs me whatever spoons I have left today, I'll do this for you. No, we have to learn how to set boundaries and say no. Okay. And we have to let people know, look, it's not because of you. It's just, I don't have much left in my tank. And if I push myself any farther, I'm going to get sick. I'm not going to do well. I'm just going to fall apart mentally or physically. So that also takes vulnerability, because a lot of people don't want to hear no. But, also watch your energy around people that take, but don't give back. All right? Because life should be about giving and receiving. We don't do things to receive back. We do things because we feel it's the right thing to do. We do things because, we enjoy doing things for people. And we're not expecting anything back. We should never, ever be doing anything or offering anything, and then say, well, you owe me one. I mean, sometimes we'll joke about it, right? When it's something really, really hard, like maybe you're helping a friend move or something. But yeah, just watch out for the people that constantly take and do not give back. All right? Because they're either trying to figure out how to heal, or they just don't care. They just think the world owes them something. And the world does not owe them anything. The world owes them a swift kick in the butt to get their shit together and, learn how to give and receive. Life is a give and take. So, may not be the best advice in the world, but these are things that I've learned in my life. And, we can only do so much. So be careful with the people pleasing as well. But do allow yourself to be vulnerable. And like I said, the external judgment and the external drama that might happen when you're being vulnerable, just remember this quote: what other people think of you is none of your business. Okay? What other people think of you is none of your business. And that's a quote I try to live by now, because it can be hard, because we do worry what other people think about us, but we shouldn't. If people want to judge you behind your back, if people want to talk about you behind your back, if people want to be all gossipy, whatever about you behind your back, don't let that tear you down. That's their insecurity. That's not yours. But if we start to listen to the little nibblings that they're putting out there, it can start to affect, how we feel about ourselves. It can start to affect our own insecurities. Don't let other people tear you down because they don't know how to heal themselves. Don't let other people tear you down because they don't understand what you're going through. So instead of being supportive, they rip you apart. Don't let them do that to you. You deserve better. I'm slowly becoming a person that everything happens for a reason, whether we like it or not, whether it feels comfortable or not, whether it hurts or not, because it leads us on the journey. I hate that my mom and Sissy Joe passed away, but I was forced then so that I wouldn't follow them to heal myself. And I often wonder, why couldn't I have done this while they were alive? But I'm a procrastinator, and I had, and their passing forced me into it. And I don't regret it. Do I miss them every day? Absolutely. 100%. I do. But I know they're around. I know I can feel them. And it's just a matter of us allowing ourselves to be vulnerable enough to love the person we are. Like I said, vulnerability is going to start with you. You have to first learn to be vulnerable with yourself before you can be vulnerable with other people. I mean healthily. We'll be vulnerable around everybody. Every time we walk out the front door, we're being vulnerable in some way or another. But to be healthily vulnerable with other people, we have to learn to be vulnerable with ourselves. All right? So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope what I said made sense today, because I'm not really sure it was coming out of my, it's coming out of my face, but I'm not sure it was coming out of my brain. It feels like it was coming from somewhere a little bit higher than me. But yeah, sorry. But anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back here tomorrow. Maybe we'll do self-care. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. There will be a show tomorrow. All right. So, even though my brain is still squirrely, but, you're welcome, Allie. I'm not sure thank you for what, but you're welcome. But yeah, I have to tell you, just going back to the celebration, I want to celebrate the people that support me and the people that I am proud and privileged to call friends, whether I've met you in person or not. I love all of you because, we say it takes a village to raise a child, but it can also take a village to get us through the things that we go through. See, my brain. We can take those long hikes to the top of the mountain and sit by ourselves, but when we come back down, there's still that village welcoming us, holding out their arms, saying, "Hey, welcome back. How are you?" And I think that's very important to celebrate those people. Even the ones that are coupled, okay? It's okay. I mean, honest. I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Just remember just a reminder, when we express jealousy, we're pushing whatever it is that we're trying to draw to us further away, or we're going to attract the wrong things. I'm not saying that the people I've dated in the past were bad, but there was a part of me that I'm not even sure was vulnerable. It was just complete people-pleasing mode. And, you know, I'm just as responsible for the failures in those relationships as they were, because I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't defend myself. I didn't communicate. I didn't really compromise. I just did everything they wanted. And that was because I was in a different place. But vulnerability is hard for me. Trusting the process is hard for me. Trusting people is hard for me. And I am working on the vulnerability. So, you know, if you think I'm just talking out of my ass, I promise you I'm not. I do struggle with vulnerability. It scares me a little. And I've been single for so long that, you know, if I do find my person, it's a little scary to, you know, just be kind of vulnerable with people. So Ali says, celebrate any help or support you get. It's rare and should be cherished. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm not bragging when I say that I'm grateful I have a support group and that I've always kind of had one. I just never really noticed because it was always there. Or I should say I took it for granted because it was always there. But you know what? Allie's right. The older I get, the more I realize, wow, these people have put up with a lot of shit when it came to me and trying to get me through my healing process. And I am grateful that they are still there. I'm grateful for the ones that stuck around and said, hey, I see you. We're going to get you through this, because now I'm able to do that for them or their people or the people around them or the people around me. I'm able to hold space and say, hey, you know what? This isn't you. This is your pain. We cannot be hurting people. All right. So, yes, cherish your support group. Celebrate them. And I celebrate you too. All right. And I don't know who else might be on right now, but I know you two are on. You know, Allie and Sammy. And I thank you. I thank you for being a beautiful support group. I met Allie randomly through one of our groups we belong to because we have a mutual friend who is also across the pond, but who helped me in my spiritual journey very, very much, just by not judging me, not, you know, just letting me be who I needed to be. And, you know, she has a very safe space online for all of us out there who feel like, you know, we don't fit into certain places because people think you have to think this way, you can't think that way. No, I think both ways. And, you know, they gave me that space. And then I met Allie. So, and I'm grateful because we've had some good talks, you know, we're all going through our own stuff. But I'm here for you guys, whether you know me or not. My inbox is open. The comment section, just make sure you tag me, because I'm terrible at looking back at things. I admit that I am terrible at looking back at things. So I need somebody, you know, you need to like be in my face going, Charlotte Marie, do you see me? Because I have a question or I have a comment or I need some wise words from you, which don't ask me for wise words because I'm not that wise. But I can pull a card to tell you what to think. So anyways, I'm rambling. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. My girls, I love you so much. And all of you watching later, like I said, if we can hate for no reason, we can love for no reason. So I'm sending all of you love and hugs as well. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelly Marie Lucas on Facebook. Did I say Facebook already? I don't know. Who cares? And yeah, we'll be back. All right. Maybe we'll toss it up and for Self-Care Wednesday, do an oracle. I don't know yet. We'll see. But pop in to see. Oh, Cousin Jeannie was on. I felt your presence, but I didn't see you on there. Hello. Thank you. And I love you too. I'm just going to give, okay, so I know I hung up already, right? But I'm kind of shouting back into the receiver going, wait. I want to send a personal shout out to my cousin because she retired last year, almost a year ago. And I don't think I would have, well, I know I could not have gotten through these last months, it's almost this last year at my dad's without her. You know, she always seems to check in on me just when I need it, or she'll be like, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to go? Just to get me out of the house. But she also respects my need sometime to isolate and be alone. But she makes sure I don't stay there. And so I love you so much. She is like a big sister, and I am very, very grateful for you being in my corner and listening to some of my stuff. You know, my cousin and I walk a very different spiritual path, but she lets me just, you know, talk about my spirituality, and I'm very grateful for that, because a lot of people don't, you know. So it's nice sometimes to just kind of, you know, let the steam out. So I thank you. So my girls, all three of you who are on right now, an older sibling wherever you are, I love all of you, and I thank you so much for being in my corner. I could not have asked for greater people to know, and I thank you. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Oh, sorry, cousin. Here's some tissue. I love you guys.